for me.
To order. Appreciate everybody coming. Thank you for the guests. Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate you guys' time. We want to recognize the newly elected board members as Dennis Cook, Laura Drager, and Ming Cabrera. So,
Thank you.
yeah, we got Dennis, Ming, and Laura. Appreciate you guys. We also want to recognize the Jeff Engel, the city appointee, and Pam Ellis, the county. So if we get those in the minutes, that's what we have there. And then we'll bring it up to public comment, and we'll limit that to 2 minutes. So when we do that, so as far as any of that, does
Mr. President?
Yep.
I would like to have the minutes reflect the following information regarding the terms.
Okay.
So Brendan Hurst's term will expire on May 31st, 2023. We have an open position that will be filled, I believe, at the July meeting.
Correct.
That term expires 2023. Pam Ellis, the county appointee's term expires on December 31st, 2024. Jeff Engel's term expires December 31st, 2024. Ming Cabrera, Dennis Cook, and Laura Drager's terms all expire on May 31st, 2025. And I'll let you have that for your records.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion on
Do we need a motion on that?
that? I'm not sure.
I
on
don't think
that.
so. I think it's just
we can put it in
information.
the minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just make sure it's in the minutes is all
Okay.
we want.
Right.
So then, as far as the official start date to everybody and the end date, okay?
I do have a comment though,
Yeah.
and I missed it because I did have those dates, but by the state law, it's not May 31st, 2025. It's when the election is canvassed,
Right.
which isn't.
At this point, we're gonna leave it at May 31st, 2025, and we'll
Make adjustments.
make
if needed.
adjustments.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think so.
This is just to reflect for the minutes. And Brandon has a copy of that, I think.
And I do too.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't think we need to make a motion. Let's just put it in the minutes. And then we'll go on and move on to the minutes in April.
What public comment for non-agenda?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Let's get to that. Any public comment on those agenda items?
Introductions
For
too.
non-agenda items.
Yes. Tom's
I tried.
1747 West Lane.
Yeah.
Because of the John
Laura.
going over.
Laura,
Sorry.
we have a public comment.
Tom's 1747 Wicks Lane. This district has missed a great opportunity to try to get some COVID-19 relief funding for capital improvements. We desperately need the main line from Alexander Road and Lake Elmo extended on west to Glen Eagles and south on Glen Eagles to connect, to make a loop on the west end of our district. The east end of our district needs a loop from Oxbow around at least a 5 mile back Dover Road, Bitterroot to our west end connection there, east end connection there. These loops are definitely needed. They're gonna be seriously expensive, and we haven't even done any of the work to figure out what's gonna be involved with pressures, flows, any of that stuff. July 31st is the deadline, as I understand, for applying for these through the state. These could have been funded, maybe, but where this district is right now, none of this is gonna be able to be applied for because we don't have the information. This is a horrible situation to be in, and it's here only because we have had such turmoil and BS, nobody can call it anything else, preventing a meeting last month where this could have been moved forward. This is not a good situation, and it's gonna be really, really hard to make up for it. Because when is free money gonna be available again to even consider applying for? Yeah, we've missed a huge boat, and this is a horrible black eye on this district for future growth and looping our system. This is a horrible black eye that is just ridiculous. Now, on the seating of Pam Ellis and Jeff Engel, state law 713-2262 clearly states midterm appointees are made by the remaining board members, not by the city or the county. So seating Pam and Jeff is not legal. For this board to seat them, you're violating state law. What protects you from violating state law? Do you have liability insurance that will protect you from violating state law? You board members are the ones who are seating them, not the top. You are the ones who have a liability to meet state law. Not Pam, not Jeff, but the remaining 4 board members. It's your job to meet state law.
So Tom, I think the 2 minutes is up. It's restricted to 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I appreciate your comments.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if you have anything on the COVID, if there was anything you guys could have looked at.
We'd rather have our, need a capital improvement plan. But yeah, we do have some of that information, Tom, that's been looked at in our main model as to which we would go at first and what pressures and such like that. But yeah, it's usually best to have something at least in the plan before applying for those. But I did get that, and I think there is still time, and we were just talking about that the other day. But we'll see how much could be thrown our way,
Yeah,
if possible.
and we'll help as a board.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I mean, you can always pay for, you know, we've got infrastructure needs to, the house we could put in places, stuff like that. We always need to do, so anything we can get is always a plus.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Anything else? We'll move on to the minutes. Move on to the April 14th minutes.
Well, the consent agenda you can deal with all at once,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah, and then we'll do the minutes, April 14th. We'll go through the claims of approval in April. In May, you can see the pages, investment report, 15th through 19th, and the financial report. So let's go through that. And if you guys have any questions, let's talk about it.
I had 2 questions. I addressed those with the staff earlier. I had a question regarding the Spectrum payment and how that was paid, if it's paid by check or ACH. Susie informed me that's paid by check. And then I also had a question for Peyton regarding, what was the name of the company? Yellowstone Waterworks, regarding the Badger meters, if that's an annual or if that was just a specific charge. And he informed me that we do have an annual fee for software licensing, and but the invoice that we had for the $6,700 is just for the meters for the new services that we have coming in place.
So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yeah, is there a motion to
I move
approve?
that we approve the consent agenda.
Is all in favor?
Oh, no, there has to be a
sorry.
second.
Or a second, yes.
Is there a second? I'll second it, but I would like to separate 2 things from the consent agenda to vote on separately. And that's the April 14th minutes, and also the claims for approval for Susan Swimley for May and April.
Okay.
And that's based on the email that Gina Lervik sent to Susan dated May 18th, that said, this morning you and another attorney filed a document with the court on behalf of the Heights Water District of Yellowstone County. Just prior to receiving the filing, I had asked you whether you represent the board of the district or individuals, and you indicated that you represented the board. However, it has come to our attention that not only did the board of today's date not authorize you to make a filing, it appears you have not been properly retained by the board at any time. Former board members were asked for copies of the retainer agreements and/or minutes of the board meeting whereby your appointment was approved, and nothing has been found. Additionally, I've been advised that President Pippin made a verbal appointment of you as counsel for the board. As you are no doubt aware, your retention by the board requires a public notice and vote of the majority of the board, as any action taken by the board must be by ordinance or resolution pursuant to MCA section 713-2274 and 713-2275. Such appears equally true for Ms. Garab. Moreover, as you are also aware, today's filing would have required at a minimum public notice of a closed session litigation strategy meeting with you and the board. To the best of our knowledge, such did not take place. So I think based on that, I would like to withhold payment to Susan Swimley until we have an attorney retained by this board to just give us an opinion. Was she legally retained? If not, what are the implications? And I don't know what that is, but I think since her bills are approaching $9,000, it's prudent that we do that. $2,000, more than $2,000 in May, and more than more than $2,000 in April. Excuse me, more than $2,000 in the May minutes, and more than $6,000 for. And I think we just have to find out what does an attorney recommend that we do. So that's one separation. And my other separation on the April 14th minutes, I would just like to revise them to reflect several changes. One, that Jeff and I were here as board members. I had been asked by the county in writing to attend the meeting and participate as a board member. Jeff had also been asked to attend the meeting. So I'd like to just star those and indicate that we were here as board members, even though we weren't allowed to vote. And also, I would like to just take out the whole discussion regarding Donna Dinsmore's report on the Heights Task Force community forum, and just put down that she gave a report rather than all the back and forth, because there was so much discussion on that, and it just, I think, doesn't reflect well on the district to leave all that discussion in there. So we'd have to vote on those separately.
Let's talk about the first one in the Susan's bill. When is the bill due? Does she have a due date? Does she give us a net 30 or?
She has a due date on them.
She just says, okay. What does the board think about holding off until the council?
I agree. 100%. I looked at that one too, and it's not to say that she's not gonna get every penny that she's billed for. I think it's just,
Due
given the
diligence.
circumstances, I think some review is
Warranted.
a good idea. I just don't think there's anything wrong with approaching it that way.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we'll move on to get council here shortly, so, coming.
So we should probably vote on, do we agree to
motion then?
separate that? Yeah.
Someone wanna make a motion on
Well,
it?
I'd like just a little bit more discussion on that, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just looking at those two bills that Attorney Swimley sent. They were 42 pages apiece of copied stuff. In regards to her putting 8 hours, 9 hours of work at $250 an hour for copying documents that have gone back and forth throughout it's way overboard.
Well, I
in
think
regards
that's
to
what
the-
she's kind of saying in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Let's have another council look at the work, the bill.
Okay.
No matter what was sent, 42 to 82 pages, whatever. But
I'll
just-
make the motion then at this point that we will seek attorney.
I'll
before we
second
Do
it.
you have a second?
I'll second
Is
it.
there all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And on the second one, the first part we'll do is,
And the second one is just to withhold the minutes for April 14th to the July meeting, so that we can make some revisions.
so just move them to
Just-
this one?
Yeah, just instead of acting on the April minutes, just move them to July. And so we'll deal with the July meeting, the May meeting, and the June meeting at the July meeting, as well as this, the two special executive session meetings.
Anything that the board understand exactly why Pam wants to do that and have any more questions?
How much of it do you want to move over?
Well-
Can we just approve it with corrections, Pam?
That's fine. So Susie,
Might be
did you
the
get the
easiest.
two spelling things corrected?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I always spelled Jeff's name wrong.
Okay.
100% of the time.
And will it
I know.
matter, yes or no, if you guys are stated as board members in the minutes? I mean, because now we just, on the actual minutes, we seated you, or whatever you wanna call it.
Well, except
I don't
that,
want it to ever come back to us and say, oh, this was illegal. I don't know. That's my
well, you've got
question.
3 attorneys that lined up and said it wasn't. So
Okay.
you've got the city attorney, the county attorney, and the county assistant attorney. So,
Yeah, there was just a big circle there, they had the other attorney saying,
yeah, but
This
it's
thing,
3 to 1.
yeah, no, that's the discussion.
Okay. So I would prefer to do that, but
You would prefer to do,
to just put a star by, and put under board members, Jeff Engel was in attendance, and star by my name that I was in attendance. Because we were both in attendance at the
Dennis has a
meeting.
question?
Yeah, I was just going to comment when she was done, but is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that maybe the best thing to do would be to just make amendments to the minutes
I mean, that would be way clearer to me, you know, because like on the first thing where we wanted to amend the minutes to show that Jeff and Pam were here, we could easily do that through an amendment.
Okay.
You know, and then same way on the Heights Task Force, I think we could make an amendment there to reflect that there was discussion, but as far as the minutes go, you know, worded in such a way so that it comes across as an amendment without all the details, but yet on file.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, so my amendment for the last item is just to say Donna Dinsmore gave a report on the Heights Task Force candidate forum, and just leave it at that. Because nothing is relevant to board decision-making or community action about the discussion. That forum is available on Facebook if people want to watch it.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion on that?
I'll move that. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
What's the motion again?
That on the final thing, rather than the back and forth, Donna said this and I said this and Ming said this, that we just say Donna Dinsmore gave a report on the Heights Task Force candidate forum, and there was discussion.
So that's one amendment, and then you're going to make another on the other amendment where they were here. Is that correct?
So we do need three.
Right. That's just
It's
It's
gonna
just
be
two,
included.
yeah.
Those
Okay.
two will be included in the.
Okay.
So Pam's made a motion.
I've second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's move on with that. As far as the claims for approval, any questions on those? Pages 5 through 14, if you guys want to take a second and just,
and on a consent agenda, you can vote on everything on the consent agenda. So is there a motion to pass the remaining items?
I just wondered if anybody had a
Oh,
question on
okay.
these. I'm gonna let them answer if they have a question. And then also on the investment or the financial report, any questions there?
One question or just a clarification on something Laura brought up on the spectrum payment and the Yellowstone water meters question she had. Were those questions in Laura's mind and the rest of the board clear and clarified so they understand what the issue was dealt with?
I'm good with it.
Everybody okay
else
with
have
that?
questions or?
I got that one. Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, somebody wanna,
I got a question too,
Okay.
please. The U.S. Post Office for 50 rolls for $27.50. That went out for bills. Is that correct, Cindy?
Well, there were two different post office
Okay.
questions that you guys had.
Okay.
One was for the bills that go
Okay.
out monthly. I don't remember the dollar amount on either of those.
$14.50.
Yeah, okay, that.
Okay.
And then the other was just we buy in bulk because the prices are always going
Right.
on.
So you are buying in bulk from the U.S. Post Office or through MTS.
And plus I use about 200 just to send out the past due letters every month, so.
Okay.
They definitely get used all the time.
Thank you.
do we do past due emails? Is that a thing?
That's a possibility. We have the feature to do that, yeah.
Yeah, cause I mean, a lot of my
We
bills,
don't have a lot of
if I ever get
emails
past.
in the system, is the deal.
I was going to say it's pretty risky.
If,
Yeah,
But that's down the road.
Okay.
so if we're sending out 200 a month,
Approximately, yeah.
isn't the minimum for our bulk mailing 200?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wanna
Let's check
check
into
into
that.
that?
I think
Yeah.
it's,
okay,
so we could probably save money by mailing those, because at 200, it runs about 29 point something cents.
I know last month it wasn't that many, but during the summer it is when
Okay.
it usually goes up.
yeah, let's just check on it.
And a related thing, you can have everything printed at MTS, which is the Mailing Technical Service. So they'll print the letter, fold it, put it in the envelope, and put the bulk mail number on it. And you have no work, and it's almost nothing. It's just astounding when you have a bulk mail permit, which you do, which the district does.
Awesome.
And I
But
can,
I do that.
I know, but I mean,
I know.
you want to dump the stuff that you don't need.
Yeah, well.
We can find
I
other
like
things
job
for you.
security.
Yeah,
Oh, you-
I think
Okay.
you're covered on that.
Yeah.
Right?
The other thing is,
Good.
like Brandon did notice that, I mean, I get all my bills by email. And I say, hey, save yourself a stamp,
I
just
recommend
do
it
it
to
that.
customers when
So
they
we
sign
can,
up for water.
yeah, that way we can save a lot of money in regards to
Would it
that.
be easy you to know if they had an email, if they're past due, to send an email?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that. but
Okay,
it's
well,
just a
that's just a
suggestion.
little operational thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, okay. Any other?
Did you want a motion on the consent agenda then?
Yep.
I'll make that motion to approve the consent agenda with the amendments to the minutes that were voted on to be included.
Okay, I thought you made the motion, right?
We hadn't finished yet.
Okay,
There was
so,
more questions.
okay.
You can still make, you just.
still use
process. Well, no, it doesn't matter, but process-wise, you can make a motion and second it, then have the discussion. In fact, the discussion should come after the motion.
Okay.
So,
But so it doesn't matter what you record, but
Okay.
just as a process.
so Dennis is making the motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
To approve the consent agenda. Did we have a second? I didn't hear it.
I'll second it.
Thanks.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. All right. If Peyton wants to talk about the manager's report as Duke is gone.
Okay.
Update on
let's see if I
that.
can read this. So, I'll start with his May stuff. Crew's been out doing service leak. We've had a couple service leaks. We had to pull new lines, and of course, then also we go back in the spring and we sod it, cut it out, sod it, make it pretty, get everything nice for them. Once they start watering, that way it'll stay alive. So they've been running around and do that. April 20th, as you probably saw, we had the fire hydrant in front of Interstate Diesel get trashed by a truck driver. We went over there, got some new stuff from the police for the insurance, and we sent that off. And I think, oh, here, I don't know if I put any of those good pictures out here or not. Yep, this is pretty much the whole packet here. We had Castle Rock. They came in, total bill $52,661. I've never seen one actually pull the entire stem out of a fire hydrant, but he sure did. And so we ended up actually, he snapped the pipe, the leg going to the fire hydrant also, so that's why we had to shut Main Street down. And of course, it just happened to be during when the state.
That's a question.
Oh, absolutely.
About that, how does that work on reimbursement? I mean, obviously, you're not gonna foot the bill for all that. You might initially.
Yeah,
How does that work,
initially,
how does that
but
work down the road? I mean,
Insurance?
how do you approach that and how do you tackle that? Cause I could see that being a nightmare.
oh, for that, like the stuff.
Well, anything like that where somebody runs into a
Somebody
hydrant, you gotta
damages
tear it all
them.
up and fix it. How do you, what's the process for?
Well, like this one, most of the time we are able to get insurance information, and we do file a claim with the insurance. I know we also pass, like for this one, the insurance off to was it the Billings Inn or whatever that little Billings Motel is, because they had some issues down there in the temporary water. But yeah, we send it all into insurance. If not, most of them are breakaway, which this one was too, but something in the truck caught the actual stem of the hydrant that's supposed to pop up and close when you knock it over, and it ripped it out. And that's why when it did, it also popped the main going to that leg. But we did move it back. We looked at doing some bollards as well. There were some issues. Some places don't like to use bollards around them because the fire department's not a huge fan, but we did talk to Scott Emmerich at the City of Billings and just asked him, because if the city had a code on the spacing of them, you know, that they were particularly fond of, we would look at something like that. Well, that one's just in a bad spot, but it's the first time it's been hit, whereas the one on, I think, was it Crow in Maine, has been hit like 6 times. But normally they break away, tips it over, crew goes out, it's a matter, we take it apart, we go through it, make sure everything's straight, and it's a repair kit. It's about $200, $260. That's usually, if we can't get insurance information, that's usually what we do with those. But, yeah, I'm still, but you can look through all of that.
So just circle back to that. So what's our internal process for filing the insurance claim? Who's in charge of filing that claim?
Duke files those claims. Yeah,
Okay.
we wait until the work's completed. In a case like this, we had Castle Rock, like, we don't supply, like, sometimes if it's something for us, if it's a part they need, we'll give it to them, and you know, stuff like that. This, we put it out, we go through a rotation of like contractors with the equipment big enough to tackle all the Main Street, you know, with the asphalt and the concrete and all of that. And so we tell them, bill everything, we get the bill, we will pay it, and then we take the photos, everything, then we have all the receipts, everything, we send it to the insurance. We made contact with the insurance guy that day.
Perfect.
For this gentleman.
Peyton, did you say that this happened again on Crow in Maine before?
No, I was just making a reference to Crow and Main, like, that
Okay.
one's in a good spot.
Okay.
And it's been hit more times than this one,
Anywhere.
this one looks kinda, why is that sitting right out there? Well, they
Okay.
did adjust where the buildings were, through time, but even some of the ones that seem like nobody should ever hit it, get hit the most, it seems, just people.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so I was
just-
just wondering. if
Yeah, but
that's
most of
the
them, like you
question.
say, they break away, they have a breakaway flange and it just tips over. And,
Okay.
we kinda talked about that, Jason Mum, the main office, like we were talking, because as you know, with the rate study, you have a rate study that studies the city's rate as it follows the contract for what they've now proposed to increase. And then you have a separate rate study, which would be our rate study, to look at our rates that we charge and our capital improvement plan that we were gonna do on the one side. We were gonna look at, having, what is it called? Crap, I can't remember the name of it.
It's Raft Ellis.
Jimmy
No.
Raptalis.
Raft Ellis is who, well, we wanted the other company, but there was a conflict of interest because the city had a contract, with them over a storm drain and they wouldn't release them, so we, got a proposal from Raft Ellis, and I believe you have those.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's just the study of the city's rate that they're proposing to raise. And there are several interesting issues in there, but, they've done them. Reptalis has been around. Andrew Ream put it in there. They're doing one for Lockwood as well on the sewer.
So, we need a board discussion and motion on the Raft Ellis report though, because that's 50,000.
And I think it's later in the agenda.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
it's right down here too.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the scope of service and what all
Okay.
they provide in it.
Okay.
Like I say, later the capital improvement plan and our rate study, this one would probably have to be done first, obviously, because if there's gonna be a change, because if they are, say the 30% has to be lowered to 17 because it violates what the agreement has in it as far as what they can charge us for, then we obviously would not wanna make our rate structure and change it and, oh crap, it's way too high now, so it's kinda one and then the other, but, he also had, that's True North, crack sealed here May 3rd, and does, oh. And you kind of talked about that one before too, because you guys were going, and I think it's later on about committees and stuff like that, right? So, okay. Also, he has Montana State Fund, dividend came again, and the board can decide how to handle that. I think we did get that. He didn't put the number here, what was it, like 2,600 or something?
2606.
Yeah. More broken service lines. What we've been doing. We invested T-bills to CDs, total 7 investments, total 1.8 million at 2.2% to 0.35% through 2024. Yeah, I think I already talked about that one. Yeah, well, we already know that. Yeah, the FCS group was the one that we were looking at. I think that's all we had for this meeting. More leaks that we've been doing. The 2015 service truck, the oil pump failed. We had to take it to Manholt for repair. That was a cost of $2,759.51. It has 68,000 miles on it. That one, they weren't sure whether it was the engine was gone. We told them fix the pump and we'll wait and see because we're not gonna throw $11,000 into a new engine for a 26-year-old truck.
When was that fixed?
Yeah, it was the beginning of May, we took it in there,
A month
or
ago.
end of May.
So far, so good.
Yeah, Yeah, so far so good. We had the spare truck and that's the serviceman took that one instead. And he had this in here, so cause all of you guys know that all of us, the serviceman, Duke and I, we all have to be certified by the state for water distribution operators. All of us are 2A distribution operators. Duke is a 2A and a 1B treatment plant and a 3C wastewater, and we all have commercial driver's license. With the COVID stuff, we have been able to do online trainings and they've been free, which is nice. We were supposed to have one, but we had a water leak, so we would have had them all completed for the 2-year cycle. But so we'll find another one of those. It's really been nice because before a lot of times we'd have to send guys to Bozeman or out of town to these schools because they drag it out for you to get the amount of credits that you need, and it's usually just the same old stuff. But and that's why those are on the board there, because they have to be posted out for the public to see that you have certified operators on those pictures there. But we were doing we'll be starting. We just picked up the bottles and we're getting that all ready for the 3-year lead and copper samples that we have to do between June and September 30th. We are on reduced monitoring because we do not have any lead lines in the district, service lines at all. But obviously they're still required. They did postpone a change that they were gonna make in there, that they're making some more requirements where you have to take like 5 at each school in your, and 3 at every registered daycare. But they pushed that out to 2024 now, because they still want to look into that, because honestly, it's kind of, I mean, I get it, don't get me wrong, lead's a bad problem, but we don't have lead service lines, we never have. But I know there's lead fittings and stuff like that, but there's still lead fittings in fire hydrants, but they don't worry about that. But anyway, we'll be starting those, so we'll be taking those around. We have 30 of them. I was just doing the form today to get ready, so if people had questions, but it goes through the instructions on how to take it, and then they set it out, we'll gather them all up and take them down. Let's see, and I think other than that, the Oxbow project, we had approved, that was approved a while ago, for the chlorination station up there that we need to have, that Interstate's been working on. So we're waiting to get an update from them as to when we can get going forward and get that going. We'd like to get that online before winter. It's just a small little booster station with mixers for each of the tanks to reduce the trihalomethanes and haloacidic acids. But also in the wintertime, Oxbow tank we obviously take to a lower level because there's no need to have 4 million gallons in there when people aren't pulling like they're normally doing. So, but we would like to see the chlorine residuals higher coming out of there. And I know the city's having the same issue out on theirs, Fox Reservoir, getting there because they are not pumping the same amount of chlorine that they used to from the plant. And we've talked to them and met with them about it and stuff, and they're comfortable with it, and they'll probably be putting a booster in it at Fox Reservoir over there by Skyview as well. But as it grows out, and the summertime it's not a problem because as fast as it's coming in, the people are throwing it out, so you're getting, chlorine's just constantly going into the tanks, and so you get great residuals. In the wintertime, and not too many people, as it sits in that tank, and it's not getting cold, and the chlorine residual comes down. Mm-hmm. So that's why we were looking into that. But, so hopefully, and I should by July, we should have a better grip on when we can start, and what the process is gonna be when we get with Interstate and see. We're just about there finalized to figure out all the little things for DEQ approval to get that going. So, but that is all I have in here.
What's the kind of big cost for that Oxbow pump about?
What's that?
How much are you looking at in terms of cost that Interstate's gonna bill out?
That was a total, projected max cost of $250,000. And that was for mixers for each tank and the chlorination station up at, Oxbow Tanks, which we originally already had.
So
the
what does that
tank
mean
for.
to the board? Do we have to vote on that?
No, I just, because.
That's been done.
Let you know, that
Oh,
was.
it's been done?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was been
Long
done, I
time
just
ago.
wanted to give you guys.
Where we're at, okay.
Yeah,
where
so
we're
if
at.
I started
Okay.
yapping about it, you'd be like, what is that? But, no, yeah, when we built the tank, we had the pad up there.
Oh,
because
I see what you're talking
we
about.
realized it was going to need it at some point. We were just hoping it wouldn't be sooner than later, but it turns out it's gonna be sooner than later, so.
Any reason for that it's more sooner than later? Is there something came up that didn't make sense?
No, it's partly due to the city not wanting to put as much chlorine in the water,
Okay,
which they're not a big fan of either, but also it's the fact that where we're coming up and the way we're gravity feeding down, which saved us quite a bit of money taking 3 pump stations offline, it also has further to travel in the line, so it dissipates that chlorine. And so what we would do a lot of times to make sure is we would circulate and we would kick a couple of pump stations on and stop the flow from the tank and circulate and drop down and evaluate from there. But we're not out of compliance by any means, but we don't want to get there either. That's why we wanted to move on it sooner than later.
Can I just clarify, and maybe my error? So on the May 12th meeting, there was an agenda item for the second reading of High Sierra, but then in the meeting that we had with you, I wrote misprint beside my, but I didn't know what it meant
No,
after the fact.
typically on the annexations, we don't have like a second reading.
Okay.
For the annexations, it's when, if everything's in, just like with the one we'll have, once it's approved, then it's approved. There's no real need for, if they have everything in order, it's no need to go over it again. It's good to go.
Okay.
Cool. Any questions, Dennis?
Yeah, I have just one question for you. You mentioned this Oxbow subdivision. I had someone that was interested, this is another broker, was talking to me about this, and this will probably ring a bell with you here in a minute, but anyway, they wanted to purchase like 18 acres up there of Oxbow. You probably know the one I'm talking about.
I had met with her last week, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, my question is that they were looking as to what their hookup fees were going to be, to get a hookup, and frankly, I don't think anybody had a real good idea yet because they hadn't even presented their plat or subdivision plan yet.
Right.
But in preparation for that, they were working on trying to get their figures together, or a ballpark figure, if you will, what it was going to take to get into the water. So when they were quoted something, I'm not quoted, but something was mentioned about $10,000, maybe an acre. Does that sound right?
Right, and that's what I've shown a couple times. Here's where the big confusion lies in that. So, like when we did the Lake Elmo line, it goes through Lake Elmo that dead ends obviously by the lake. You can see some of these are in red, the small. Okay, this person owned 10 acres. They wanted to come into the district. What we have them do is, it's a replat, but it's not. What they do is a replat for the annexation of what they're going to service, which is their home. Usually it's a half acre. And that's what they did, and that's what they annex in. So 5,000 whatever, plus the system development fee of $1,794. And then that's the water. They did it here. This gentleman just did it, Uri, a few months ago. We have another one that's gonna come in here. He just sent his to us to look at preliminary, and he's gonna actually do close to an acre that he wants to irrigate because he has a couple garages and stuff. But her area is off, hers is a tricky one there. It's off a Longhorn Way. The big problem with Longhorn Way is it's at the very top, and because of the height, there's the pressure right there isn't enough to serve past, because if there's a fire, we're above fire code, but they wouldn't be if they came off of that line. So they will have to take it off of Jerry's Hawthorne Lane extension. And when she came in, what I told her was, and it was their engineer, and I talked to him, he didn't explain very well, and he's not very well versed, but I tried to figure out, what are you guys doing? Because they didn't have a plan, but they know they wanted 3 properties. I'm like, okay. So I explained to her, there's 30 feet, because you have to be abutted to a water main to be annexed in. So I said, you can flag basically just basically a line and then the square around your property, and that service line, that's what you would annex. And, I said, depending on what it would be, however, we would probably make them do meter pits because the setback is a long way. So they would probably 3/4 or 1 inch, and then probably go to a 2 inch after that to make sure their pressure and whatnot. But she was gonna go back to the county and check on if there was any restrictions on distance between flags, because they wanted 3 lots there. The gentleman in the middle, he actually replatted that, so he's blocked off from it. I said the only way he could get water is if one of you gave him, and he would have to replat that and flag that down to include that in off of their land. But that's all they would have to annex in. And I said if the flag can be a foot all the way up 400 feet, and then just your half acre of your house, that's all you need to annex in. That's it. Not 18 acres worth. Now, if you were going to develop and put up 16 houses or something, then yeah, you're going to annex the whole thing in, except the right of way, because we would have a designated right of way. That's
So the getting back to the rate though is, I mean, and again, they're looking for ballpark figure, so they can figure out where they're going to be when they get it all subdivided.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is 10,000 realistic? I mean, and again, I'm just asking the question. Is it realistic, or is it too high, too low?
And I think I had put the one thing out. It's gone up 13 cents because it originally came in the old buy-in fees and stuff like that. But yeah, it's gone, I think, or 13 cents in 16 years per square foot. It's gone up. And the actual amount that are off of that, I think, in that entire time frame when they adjusted them, has only been 2-point-some million. I think that's even with system development fees in it. But it doesn't bring a ton. It's not meant to, but it's also meant to give back because of the people that have already paid for the infrastructure, because now you're taking from that, so you're giving back into that. But it's not unrealistic, and that's something that'll be looked at again, during the rate study and all of those things to see what is.
So when you're looking at that, do you have a formula or something that you go by? I mean, maybe that's what you're trying to explain to me, but it seems to me like there'd have to be some kind of a formula or something to arrive at a price.
Yeah, it's 23.3 cents per square foot.
Okay.
And that's usually what we tell them when they approach. We say, where are you at? We see what the property. Oh, I've got 12 acres out here or whatever. We say, well, what are you going to do with it? And kind of get that, and then we can kind of narrow down what they're looking at, and and keep their costs as low as possible. Because if you're just drinking water to your house, then yeah, just replat, annex in what you're going to service from the service, and that's it. And then that's usually what most of them end up doing, is usually a half an acre of that.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, that's good information. I'm glad I asked the question, because they were asking me a bunch of questions about it, and they were just trying to get their ducks in a row, so to speak. So they knew if they made the purchase that it was going to be something that would the numbers would work basically.
Right. And she called me, and we were actually heading out of town on vacation, and she's like, I'm supposed to close in a few hours, and I'm like, I don't know what Steve or Kevin Thorson from WWC, but Erin Redlin, who used to work for Interstate and works there, she's done a lot of those where she's done the plotting and stuff on these kind of annexations and stuff. And I said, I talked to him and I told him, get with her. I said, but the big thing is you guys, when you first presented it, they didn't have a plan. They just said they had like a bunch of different ideas. And it's like, well, you have to pick what you're going to do so we know how we can get you in there with the most money. If you're just doing, at first he had one with like 12 services, and then another one came in and it was a cul-de-sac, and there were all these different things. And then I find out she's just going to have 3 lots out of it and service these homes. And I'm like, well, that's a lot different than everything else. So it's just trying to get, but yeah, she opted out of closing. Which I advised her to. I said, I don't want you to do that and get sucked for that. And she came in and, we went over, anything we can do to help you as far as, but, she hasn't got back to me yet to see, but I don't think there is any limit or like in that 30 feet, like there has to be a spacing on the flags. I think for those 3 lots, it's not an issue. I mean,
So this meeting you had with her was fairly recent then?
oh yeah, it was last Friday.
Oh, so very
Yeah.
recent then, okay, all right, very good, thank you.
Yeah, because when you look at it, if 18 acres at 10,000 acres, $180,000 for connection. So you just put those two numbers together and that's gonna scare anybody in regards to what the heck they have to do to connect. But if they're only doing 3 houses, if she would have known it was 3 houses, it wouldn't have been $180,000.
No,
So that's the question that,
right, and that's like with Morel's stuff up there in bar 11. He pays annexation because he's developed the whole thing. The annexation is per lot. That's what he pays for the annexation, not the right of way. There's no annexation on that. It's just the lot, the amount that annexed. And for a half acre lot, where he's paying $5,000 for annexation that he's selling for $90,000. I mean, granted, you gotta recover your costs for the water line and stuff. I get that, but the profit margin out there is somewhere in 16 to 19 million when he sells all those lots. And so I don't think the 700 or whatever thousand he's paid, you know, yeah, he had to build a pump station and he knew that from the get-go because there wasn't water out there. And we were already in the stages of building our reservoir. That was the only way he was gonna be able to get water is if that tank was there. So it's just kind of and he really wasn't too upset about that, you know. And now he just annexes as he goes, you know, for a phase or whatever. But, and it's no different than SID. I mean, SIDs, the city does the same thing, even out here when Ron Hill does them. They assess the water, sewer, and storm, all those costs go to that property, and it's more than a half acre annexation fee, I guarantee. It's like usually around $37,000 just for the water. But they're assessing, you know, they're playing banker, I guess, is what they're doing. So if a developer comes in and just does it themselves, we don't assess the lot anything. It's just, if it's already annexed in, all they play is the system development fee, which is, you know, for a 3/4 inch service line for a lot. We don't do assessments.
so if the subdivider puts his own pump in, you just service it right to the pump, is that correct then, Peyton? And then they have to do their own lines within that subdivision, is that correct
It
too?
depends. Like Jerry's, his is designated right away, it's streets, so the pump station, he had to build to serve it, but then it's turned over to us. It's our property and all the water lines. So it's our maintenance, it's ours. But now like Cherry Creek trailer home, they have master meter on both ends. So everything inside of there is theirs. We just have the meter right there. And all the lines and fire and all that is theirs.
At what point do you, and this is just kind of a general question, kind of along Dennis's questioning there, but at what point do you just tell that individual or whoever walks in the door, you need to go hire an engineer? Because I mean, how much do you spin your wheels trying to deal with a homeowner versus a developer versus an engineer representing a developer? You know what I'm saying? I mean, the questions can just be crazy, I think, you know.
Well, and that's you get that a lot, and we usually try to get them in contact with an engineer quickly.
So you recommend that right off the bat?
Yeah. And because a lot of them have architects, and I think I might have mentioned, so what they're doing now is and I found this out, is you have an architecture firm, well, they'll sub out the water sewer engineering to like Sanderson Stewart. So then, and the Montana Ortho was the first project I found this out on. So then they go in and put it in, we inspect stuff, I want my as-bills. Well, you don't get them from Sanderson Stewart. We weren't on the project, so they can get out of paying an inspector. So then you have to go back to the contractor to try to get the as-bills. Are you kidding me? You know, so it's just something we can keep.
After it's already covered up.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
it's an issue we're trying to resolve on some small I mean, usually they're smaller projects, not big ones. Don't get me wrong, but it's just one of those things.
I have just one more dumb question, I guess, is, it sounds like the annexation fees are quite exorbitant, you know what I mean, 180,000, whatever they are. What does the city do when they have a subdivision out there and they wanna do they have an annexation fee type of thing, or do they just do it over time so that people can build more in the Heights, is what I'm trying
Well,
to get
what-
to.
Yeah, what they do is, and the best way I can describe it is, and I'm not in any way, I'm just saying, I know, you know, like with the school, the Ben Steele School, when I looked at that, so what they did, yeah, they annexed it, okay. When they do the approval, SID, the school's on the hook for improvements down the future, from 56th all the way up to like 62nd, all the way back. And that's the water, sewer, sidewalk, all of that. They're gonna get that back. So they may not have an annexation fee, but what they're getting is a percentage that the school district's on the hook, or us as taxpayers are on the hook for going forward. When those, as it develops, properties start to develop out there around that school is gonna be paying a portion of those until they're built out. The street, sidewalk, storm drain, water, and sewer.
To me, that sounds more reasonable to do the way they do it, because, I mean, it hits somebody, a developer that's gonna start out immediately and tell them that they have to start that business at 180,000, that just pretty much, or whatever the number is, I'm not saying that isn't, but the way they did it in Ben Steele sounds like as time goes, it builds up the area. For example, we can look over here on Wicks Lane up by the school by Skyview, correct? You know, all those adobe areas and stuff like that. Who knew that this was going to happen, you know, that type of thing?
Sure.
And then the annexation at that time would have came in because the cost made sense for the developer to do it at the same time than what it is now, where you're hitting them immediately for that big cost. Right, this is just I mean, we can go on forever and talk on this discussion, but
Yeah.
it's something we can look at. I think that we've got to find a way to make it so that people that do want to develop here in the Heights have a reason to develop in the Heights, is what I'm trying to say. Instead of hitting them hard with these connection fees, that just hit them and suck it to them right away, is what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
and Gary Oakland is always, I mean, those are usually private contracts, like High Sierra.
Sure.
So he just pays for them and builds them, and on both sides, you know, city and Ron Hill's done both. He's done private contracts and he's done SIDs.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, you know, some small business people that don't have that type of money to do that kind of annexation or connection fees. There's
most
gotta
of
be a
the-
way to do this.
Yeah,
That
most of
doesn't
the
kill them.
business areas are already in the district.
Well,
They're
and
already
benefit
annexed.
business without
They
a
don't pay it
business, where are you
twice.
ever gonna get your money from?
Once it's been annexed, just because you sell it, there's no, you know, you don't pay that again for that property, no matter what.
Well, and I think the SID or the annexation fees are incredibly unpopular with the developers. It's a complaint that you just hear over and over and over. And I think that's one of the things we need to we may need to look at listening to people and seeing, and then comparing our rates with other water and sewer districts. We're kind of unique. I mean, there's 800 water districts in the state of Montana. Only 4 of them don't produce their own water, and we're by far the biggest. So
Right. And they have, and when we got in that, I looked, because I talked to Evergreen and Big Sky, and they do get it back. They call it different fees. They call it like water plant fee and, you know, and stuff like that. There's different fees here and there. But yeah, but the amount that it actually funds is a small portion of, you know, what your capital improvement costs are gonna be. Because like I say, 90% out here is gonna be residential as it is. And usually a developer is not worried about that, because I think honestly it would be more expensive to assess. Or, you know, we're too small to play banker, like, you know, and take out. and
The
do
residents would have to pay.
and then keep track of all that. So if you wanted to do something, assessment, well, that's thrown onto the lot before it's even bought. You know, there's 65,000 over 20 years already on that lot, and yeah, it's an assessment can be done. We just got, I think the last one was Annandale, and that was when they decided, the board at that time was like, this is just a headache, you know, and people complaining when they bought it about their assessment fee. Well, you know, it should have been disclosed to you when you bought the house or the property, but, so, I don't know, I mean, and that's, you know, it's something to look at when
That'd
we
be good.
do a study, to look at comparing what other systems do, what's the best route to go to,
Absolutely, that's good info, so I think
Because
that'd be
you know,
news to
we're
future.
talking, yeah, we're talking Lockwood bypass in Inner Belt Loop and Main
Yeah,
Street
we got a good
renovations.
opportunity
and
for businesses. We
The,
just wanna-
the opportunity for the
Yeah.
businesses and
Yeah,
the reason to be is because, you know, what they've done on the west end, it's just sickening to see how they've been able to use their money and assess their water rates compared to ours out here and, get things going. So
well,
that's,
they make the water.
yeah, I know, but, well,
Yes.
that,
Yeah, I mean, they're
that's the
not paying
part.
off cost, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fine line of trying to get things going, and we have continued to go. But what it actually funds, I mean, just like in front of First Interstate, for 16 foot of pipe, it was 30 grand on Main Street. Could you
Sure.
imagine what a rehab for a major catastrophe would cost on that? It would drain this place, drain it. I mean, we would have to go emergency route like Laurel, because they couldn't afford, because they put the intake in the wrong place, you know? But, I mean, it's, the cost of doing stuff are so expensive. I mean, and this is only a portion of it that you're trying to get back. And yes, buying the water is it's, you know.
Well, I think this is a topic that we're gonna
Oh,
need
in
to
the
take.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit
Yeah,
more.
absolutely. It's
Right.
good
And
info.
then, you know,
It is great information,
Yeah.
but
Thank you, I'm
We'll
understanding
start
it a
thinking
lot
about
more.
it more, and I think that's good for this, you know, to educate, you know, people that, you know, are new to the board and stuff like that. So yeah, more questions are good, but yeah, let's make sure we move along so we're not here
Gotcha.
all night. So good on the manager's report. Any other questions?
We're gonna talk about the third reading for High Sierra, is that correct, later?
The
Bitterroot.
annexation for Bitterroot.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the unfinished business. Review of the TRO filed by the city and Billings in Yellowstone County. I don't know what really there's to talk about.
Well, the important thing, I think, is that the TRO said the Water District of Billings Heights is temporarily enjoined from preventing the city and county appointees from taking their seats. And the Water District of Billings Heights is further enjoined from preventing the newly elected water board members from taking their seats. And the impact of that is that the May 12th meeting was a legitimate meeting. It was noticed. We held it. So we need to complete the minutes for the May 12th meeting. There were a couple meetings that were essentially executive board meetings by email, and technically executive board meetings should be noticed, and they weren't. But any action that you take has to be recorded in minutes. So we need to record
What were the actions? that
the actions were the
taken?
May 17th directive to staff that had a list of things that were signed by a quorum of the board.
Do you want that in the minutes, the way it was worded to the staff? I don't know if
I
I
don't
want.
think
I don't
so.
think so.
But
what I'd like
we
to
did,
see.
but we need the directives.
don't
What
know.
I'd like to see is I'd like to see the copy of the TRO,
It's sitting there.
yeah,
You mean in the minutes?
included in the
Okay.
minutes,
Oh.
so that we see it, so that it's part of our public record.
Yeah.
And I think we beat this horse to death.
I think we just move on from it.
Well,
Yeah.
no, because legally you have to provide public notice of your actions. So we did the directive and we fired Susan Swimley on May 19th. And that has to be minutes of an executive meeting that are recorded publicly. And the other impact is she acknowledged that she received the dismissal on the 19th, and she filed a charge on the 20th. So you do have to legally you have to record executive action. Those were both taken by a quorum of the board, and so we have to prepare minutes that reflect that. One dated May 17th, one dated May 12th for the May 12th meeting in the parking lot. One dated May 17th.
Do we have to do it tonight?
No. To have it ready for July.
Okay.
But that's the impact of discussing the TRO.
I think, and you know, a couple of you heard me say this already, but I think that we need to get an attorney on board. And when we do that, we go back to him when we have a list of our concerns that are legal issues.
Agreed.
And we have them address all those legal issues. Instead
think
of
the
us
TRO and
trying to play
everything.
attorney here, none of us are attorneys.
Right.
Agree.
Okay.
So I
Let's
think,
table that until we get.
and then
a
just get
council.
right to it, you know, I mean, instead of spinning our wheels.
Yeah, 'cause I just
You know,
wanna
we
go
can,
back and
as we
forth
go
all night.
forward, we can make a list of the legal issues we think we really don't have an answer.
Yeah.
We might know what the answer is,
Totally
but we
agree.
really don't know what the answer is, and just say, when we get that council on board, he can address this 10 issues or
Yeah,
15 or
we can talk
whatever
about
it
the
is.
TRO, that May meeting, what's in, out, what should be So as far as that, we're just gonna table that until we get council.
Tabled until council. Do we
Yep.
need to have a motion on that?
Probably.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I
All in
missed
favor?
most of that, so,
Aye.
Jeff and Amy, but, so do I need to say what you said about the TRO, reading it and all that?
I just think we
No,
just know,
no.
just you just
Table.
We're
gonna,
tabling this
until
discussion.
council.
Okay.
I think that is best. I just wanna do it right. I don't wanna recognize something, then it
As
wasn't.
we go forward
a
on
real
these
board.
items, excuse me, Brandon,
Yeah.
as we go forward on these items, can we just add to that list that would go
Yeah,
possibly
we'll
go to
just say,
the
make it,
council?
yeah, I agree.
You know, I mean, there may be more here as we go through this. list.
I didn't hear what you said, don't
And-
add to the list for council, is
Yeah.
that what you said?
To review
Okay.
with council once appointed.
Okay.
I agree totally. We wanna get this back on the right track.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, that's gonna be good. Okay. Do we have any public comment on that? No public comment. On to the next, report and discussion of the city billings rate study. We need Peyton. Here he comes. We're up on the rate study,
Yes.
so if we wanna talk about this, Ref, tell us.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We did one with them, I think before I was here was last time. Usually the city's rate structure isn't that out of whack, so, but by our contract, they have to give us notice of what they're planning to do. And then, the board determines whether it's a big enough skew or if anything just glares out at you that it would warrant obviously going through something like this. What we saw in there that kind of alarmed us was wanting to charge for the water plant on the west end. According to contract, anything that they do, stuff like that, they cannot start to incorporate into a rate against us until it's completely constructed, and it has to directly serve the heights. So that one was a glaring one, and that, that they talk about
Will you go
that.
further into that? It's not completely constructed and it does not serve the heights, correct?
Yeah, it's not anywhere near constructed.
Okay, just so
Yeah.
everybody's clear on that.
I'd like to challenge that though. I mean, it provides water and
It will.
and it provides a huge backup, and we buy water from the city. So if you want the water from the city, we're gonna have to pay for the West End Water Reservoir,
Yes, when it's constructed though.
which
That's-
is fiscal year 23. That's why the rates go up
Right.
in fiscal year 23.
Right, but the 30% increase
31,
now.
no,
Or that they wanna
31%
do.
in fiscal year 23 because the water plant is completed then. And then what Jennifer said is there will be, again, very large increases in fiscal year 24 and fiscal year 25.
Yeah, and the other one was, charging for Oxbow maintenance at Oxbow tank, which they do not. We allow the city to monitor it. We send the signal down to the linear tank. They monitor the levels in the tanks, but by contract, they have their own equipment, they pay for their own equipment and stuff like that. They don't do any of that maintenance, but I think they were trying to charge, I think it was 50-some thousand towards that, and that's just, those are just two
And they
little
asked to
things.
monitor it?
What's that?
Did they ask to monitor it?
They asked us if we would allow them to see the level, yeah.
And now they're charging for it.
Well, not charged for that, they have it included in the maintenance
Okay.
but they're not doing any maintenance whatsoever of that. And their maintenance on their equipment by contract is on them, not us, but those were just a couple of things, and so that's why we looked at that, and like I say, FCS group couldn't do it because the city wouldn't release them out of that contract for a conflict of interest, and so that's why it was tell us that is another one that's doing it, that is, they specialize in these, and for what you need to get completed in the scope of work. As you can see, it's pretty extensive.
My concern is that the rates go up July 1, which is 2 weeks from now. And
It's a small increase, right?
Right, but I think we need to act on that. To me, this is a higher rate, and I may have read Jennifer's email wrong, but it looked to me like this is more than the city paid for their entire study.
Oh no, theirs is way more. Reptiles, water and sewer, they just did, in 2018, I think when they did the first one for Lockwood, it was 80 grand. They're way smaller than we are. Thank God we're only water, you know, but they're doing one for them right now
Well,
too.
but it's really different because, well, I guess they
There's-
hook into the city sewer system, but they produce their own water.
Right.
Which is really different than we buy the water. To me, if you're looking at a contract dispute, an attorney can do that. That's I mean, at least give us some guidance. $50,000 is a tremendous amount of money that we don't need to commit today because the big increase is next year. And we need to get going on it.
Yeah.
And also, it isn't a complete rate study because I think in order to really establish rates, we've got to look at our employee costs. We have to,
Yeah, this is just to review the city's
The
rate
city's
structure,
Right.
not
That's
our
it.
rates.
right,
That's all we're talking about.
right. But it just seems like a lot of money right now. It seems like right now what we need to do is get that 7/10 increase built into the rates, get a letter out to all the ratepayers. You don't have to have a meeting by statute because it's not a 5% rate, but we need a letter out to all the ratepayers that says the cost of wholesale water is going up 0.7%, and so your rate will be adjusted proportionately because we can't take that loss while we're fiddling around doing a rate study.
No, but in order to have something to come back at them with, which normally, if we, you know, could get underway, then we may be able to get that second year reduced as to what they're going to charge us. And then before we do our capital improvement rate study, we have those numbers concreted that
You
this
know
is
what
what they're
it's
going to
getting
be.
reduced. I see
And
what
then
you're
we
saying.
can look at our rates that way. I mean, we've always waited until they adopted it before we looked at making, you know, the board made any changes, or if they didn't. A lot of years we didn't. We were just fine where we're at. But it's in your guys' hands.
My question is, when the city did their major study, didn't they take that into account that they're selling water to the heights?
Mhm.
Okay, then, my question then is, if the city's already done the study, what we're looking at here is just a defense against the city,
It's
is
to
that
make sure
correct?
that it's, everything that's being charged to come to that rate structure according to the formula in the contract is actually correct.
Dennis?
Well, you know, I agree with that. I think those 2 points you brought up about the city water plant on the west end
Mhm.
and then the Oxbow tank, you know, that tank. Those, to me, we want to make sure those that we're interpreting it, you know, the contractually accurate. So we really have true understanding of that.
Mhm.
And so again, about the list, you know, this is one of those things I think you add on to for the legal people to look at and review our contract and to say, yeah, they can do it, no, they can't do it, and really get that clarified up front before we get too far down the road.
So what happens if this rate study comes back and says they are charging too much? What's the next
Yeah, what do
step
we
to
do?
the
Then they
city?
usually will get into an arbitration, I believe it goes in there, with city staff, questions, methodologies, underlying data, assumptions, approaches, and, they'll do one with us. A couple meetings and, you know, then I think after that, if you're not getting anywhere, then I think you're gonna end up moving into a different area to, you know, this is not to exceed 50,000, of course. And then, but, normally, I think the last time, all we ended up doing was, I don't even think that was off rate study, that was just a memorandum of understanding, that we did with the city over the size, because they were starting to put 12-inch water lines in residential, and so 12 inches traditionally considered a transmission main, and now it wasn't, and so we did a memorandum of understanding that it was 16 and above were transmissions that could charge us for a portion of the infrastructure.
So has the Heights ever done anything like this as far as the actual rates being
Yes,
sold? Okay.
before my time.
Oh, so wow.
Yeah,
And the one thing is, like, there was a challenge from the bulk resellers,
yeah,
and because they put too high up, and this council had directed too high an income, and that was legally the rates are really controlled by law. So, you know, Jeff Essman came back and said you can't charge this; it's beyond what you're allowed, and that was correct. And they just reduced it. I mean, they checked it; that was correct, so they just reduced it. So it doesn't have to be a big hoop to do.
How often are the rate studies done, typically?
The city
Whenever
does it
there's a
every 2
big-
years.
Every 2 years?
Yeah.
Theirs are usually right around probably 180,000, 200,000 that they pay, yes.
Well, I'm just looking at this the big picture. Why is it that everybody has to do a separate rate study?
Yeah, that's
Right.
what I'm
That's the
looking
big
at.
I
If
mean,
it's
why,
already-
if they're gonna do it every 2 years, why doesn't everybody get on board and just piggyback off each other, you know? And if they're gonna do one, involve everybody and maybe reduce the cost.
Yeah, they,
I mean, is that a valid question?
I think this is a great
Yeah.
question.
I mean, how many water districts do we have here? We got,
One.
you got the city,
One.
you got the Heights, but no, you got Lockwood. So
Lockwood.
there's,
mhm.
is there any others around here?
But
that-
Lockwood isn't influenced by the city study. This,
Lockwood's water is totally
yeah, they
separate.
Well,
they produce their
but
own
the
water.
sewer-
And I agree, but you know, if they're gonna do a study, couldn't they, you know, they could take all that into account. I guess I don't understand why
We got a
you're
perfect.
talking
And-
two or three different studies here.
And the study specifically references the county water district contract and specifically addresses it. So I actually think I mean, my recommendation would be that we address it first with legal to see is it really necessary to spend the 50,000. And then right now, I think we need to get a letter out to all the ratepayers about the 7/10 increase.
I agree. I think we should table this too with legal. And then
I
go
think so
up.
too.
Yeah, there's just so much there that we're looking
You know,
at, and
and
then
looking
get the
down the-
ratepayers out the 7%.
Yeah, and looking down the road too, you wonder, if they're gonna do them every 2 years, wouldn't you think they'd put some kind of a template? If you're gonna have the same outfit doing these, they'd have some sort of a template in place so that they're not reinventing the wheel every time they do a rate study. It seems like some of these fees are just
That's-
unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah, every 2 years, or, I mean,
And you don't
we
think
haven't
they
done one
just-
paid for quite a while, is that correct?
A long time, yeah.
Okay.
Have we
well,
seen an
that's the
increase
point.
proposal that big in a long time?
No.
No.
That's the reason you, I mean,
Yeah.
a couple percent here and there, you're not gonna do a rate study.
Yeah, I think it was the 98 lawsuit was last time when they jacked the rates and,
So with this 3 year, do we have to agree to the 3 year? Do we do a 3 year contract with the city or is it?
We,
no,
Okay.
our contract is
Just
what
for
it
the
is.
rates as I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, oh, yeah, no,
Okay.
we haven't done a study of their rates in a while because they've been pretty proportionate with nothing glaring, and then the board some years has been, hey, we're okay, we can absorb this. They've only increased us like, I think on one they did nothing the one year and then 2% or something the next year, and then the next time they had 15% total. And then the board, I think, spread ours out after that, increases to our people, but usually, yeah, with something like that, with that size of an increase, I mean,
and with two big ones coming after that, that's
Do we
why-
know why? Do we have
it's the West End Reservoir.
That's
Yep.
100% why.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it
So all
hasn't
this-
been done in a while, and it probably should, because if they're looking at those type of increases, we definitely want to make sure
We have to protect ourselves.
that we're in line
Jeez.
with the contract, that what they're formulating, what they're composing our rate is actually benefiting us, serving us, can be charged before we just let it.
We just blindly say, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a
council,
good point.
yeah, I think that's a great point. Council, we spend 1,000 whatever to talk about that, then we go ahead it anyway. Go ahead, Laura.
I have two questions. On the title of the letter from Ref Tellis, it's addressing the Billings Water Rate and System Development Fee Report. So that system development fee is something that we had just talked about. So,
Yeah, that won't be in there because what we originally hoped was FCS was going to do just the city's part, and interstate engineering and the capital improvement plan was gonna look at our rates and the system development fees and all of that on their side. But this was we had to get this together quick
Right.
because FCS, they kept trying to see if the city would release and let them do it, but they won't. So that's why we got this in a hurry, but no, they won't be doing the system development fees.
okay, and so then my next part of my question is, if we wait until we had a recommendation from our council, legal counsel, what's the impact? Is there a negative impact to waiting on this?
Well, I definitely wouldn't have a public hearing and raise the rates on our people just yet. I mean,
You don't need a public hearing for 0.7%. You only
no,
need
but
it for
If you're
5.
gonna raise your rates, at least
Well, maybe we
If
raise it
know
12% because we have so big ones coming, we have to spread it out. I think that's where
That's
he's
the point,
going.
because normally
That's where
we've
he's
done
going.
like 2 year, you know.
Yeah, and I understand that, but I know that, I guess I feel that we're too far down the line. The rates go up July 1. We've known about this since February, and we've had 2 of the 3 meetings canceled between February and today. I know there's real opposition to raising the rates 15% or 16% this year and next, because there's some bad feelings about the fact that the city collected money, that the county water district collected money for water that they didn't pay for from the city. So there's a lack of trust. Because, I mean, to me, 15% is terrible, 16% is terrible, 31% is terrible, but it is what it is. We walked ourselves into this by not dealing with stuff as it went along.
Well, I mean.
Well, I don't know.
Well,
we could argue about that quite a bit, but
Yeah,
we're not going to go down that road.
Legal
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah,
gonna go
but
down
we've
that
known
road.
since March that there was going to be 31%.
No.
Yeah,
we didn't get we don't get the report until we got that in the end of April, I believe is when I don't have it in front of me.
Right, but
I thought I read a date. that
but
it
the
was
work
first
session
part
went.
of May.
Or, yeah.
But the work session was in March, and she went over. She said it's going to. At that point, it was 30.6%. So
But until they legally
Yeah, you have to
notify.
put it on
I realize it
You know
wasn't
what I mean?
legal,
We can't-
but you can see it coming.
No assumptions. We don't make assumptions.
Yeah.
So what does everybody think? I think that Susie, I think we're right to protect ourselves. Obviously, if we haven't done it for a while, and the increase that's a big one. That's a really big one. You know, I think we need to do our diligence for the residents. I don't know whatever council we get, how much they're really gonna know about this. You know, that's not gonna be probably their expertise. So they might have to farm it out to another council that we pay for. So,
And how
I
much
mean,
time that
yeah,
is
and then how long does that take?
and money.
Well, how are we looking in terms of the, I mean, is it budgeted for a 50,000 there, Peyton? Have we got it there to look at, or what are we looking at? Are we gonna be eating McDonald's hamburgers for the next 20 years?
I think we're fine there. It's something, like I say, we don't do but once in a blue moon, you know, and with what's gonna
How
happen.
much was the last time we did a rate study? How much did it cost you to do that with
That was before Peyton, man. How do
Yeah,
you even have that number?
was a long time ago.
That's
I
more than
couldn't-
17 years ago,
Okay,
so it's
okay,
not even.
it's
Not
not
even
even there.
relevant.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was probably at that time, if they had arbitration or not, which I didn't, you know, I imagine that they did, but I couldn't tell you. I don't wanna make up a number or something.
Yeah, I personally think that I would vote for the rate study. I mean, I think we need to protect ourselves and kind of making sure they're, you know, doing the right things for our residents. I get it's a big sum, but it's also the principles of why we're the board members. You know, but, you know, it is a discussion. A board has to agree. So I don't know.
I think, you know,
We need a
Brandon?
motion and a second. Really, we should have a motion and a
What?
second before we discuss. We're
discussion.
gonna
Well, who wants to make
we
a
all
motion
wander
for
off
what?
track.
Put the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion that we proceed with the rate study from Raftelis.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did Dennis second that?
Yes.
Yep.
Thanks.
I'm still opposed.
So all opposed?
I'm opposed.
So 3-2.
Did you vote?
Yeah, I'm in favor. So 4-2.
4-2.
Sorry.
So motion passes.
So I'd like to make another motion that we send letters immediately to the ratepayers with 2 things. One, the 0.7% increase with what the cost of water will go up per 1,000 gallons. I think that's how we.
Okay.
And also, that May 17th directive had a directive to put the HRDC information.
I did put it on there.
But what I'd like to do is include within that letter the HRDC, and I'd like to help write it, because if we're sending 200 late notices a month, we've got people that are hurting. And I did
On a
call,
6,000?
well, but those people are hurting. So, and there's,
Same people for.
right,
the whole
I'm not
lifetime,
disagreeing
I
with, but there's federal money available that will pay it.
think. Okay.
And then the other thing is HRDC, if people paid the water bill with the late notice after March, when HRDC funds came available, we need to include in the letter, if you've paid your water bill and that made it not possible for you to pay your rent or buy drugs or whatever, HRDC will allow you, right, the good drugs. HRDC will allow you to apply for other cost reimbursements so that people know. Now, I know at least a couple of people from the Water District had applied. We had put it on the task force one, but I think let's put it out to the whole rate notice so that everybody knows. Because even though I'm not going to claim from HRDC, just knowing if I run into somebody, having that information is helpful to all the ratepayers. So
she'd like her to put the letter together and send it to the board, or send it to Pam?
Well,
do you,
I think you said you were gonna do
I'm
that.
happy to do it, and then I'll send it to the full board too.
Okay.
And then let's check with MTS or whatever it is
So
to see what we'll save if they print it.
okay,
Oh,
so
I see what you're saying.
we have a motion on the floor.
Right. So we need a second.
I'll second that one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That one passes.
That's for the letter,
Okay,
right?
so but
Yeah.
we have on the agenda, we just talked about the city rate study. Did we have a public comment on that?
Sorry.
No, you're good. No, we're okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we
You've
got 2
already
minutes.
made your motion to do
Yeah.
the rate study, and I'm tickled to death. I just wonder how many of you have ever read the contract between Heights Water and the city of Billings. Let me read it, just a small piece.
Tom, I just sent it out to everybody. I just got it, so I think everybody's got it.
Good. So what does the American Waterworks Association Manual M1 contain? Do you realize what that is, what sets the rates? Is American Waterworks Association Manual M1. It has over 400 pages. Can you access the book? No, you can. It costs like $400 for a person like me to buy it because I'm not a member of American Waterworks. But for Heights Water, who is, and the city who is, it's $160. 417 pages of rules governing how you apply rates between the city and the Heights Water. That is the book. And none of you have read it. I haven't read it. We don't have access to it. This is a fact. Next, last month, Chris Kukulski, city administrator, was at the Heights Task Force and boldly made a statement that the city does not have to have an improvement totally built online or anything before they're starting to recoup their money from us. For years.
That's not.
That's what he said. He says the money's been
We don't even
spent,
have to act.
this
Or
part of
respond.
the expenditure is complete. The whole thing don't work without the rest, but he can start charging us for it. That's part of the 31%. It's not complete. It does nothing. All of their equipment, all of the years, the city and the Heights has always said, the city can't bill us for capital until the project is online.
Yeah, and that's why we're gonna do
Even in
that.
their rate study,
Mhm.
they use the words online, capital
That's your 2 minutes there, Tom,
online.
and we totally agree. That's why we approve that. I think we're gonna make sure that the increase is valid. So I think the
So,
board made the right decision.
So-
with the conflict of
Tom-
capital expenditure complete, even though the project isn't complete, being presented by the city
No, we get
administrator.
it, and that's why we're gonna fight it, so we appreciate your
That's,
comments.
I
Yep.
wanna make sure you understand.
No, we totally, Peyton said that, and he understands that, and we're definitely gonna have Ralph tell us, go to work for us.
So
All right.
can I just ask Frank if, because I don't recall hearing that. So Frank, is that your understanding of what Chris said? I don't remember that from any of the.
Well, you can look at it a couple ways. So the water line to supply the reservoirs is under construction now, the pump and stuff. So that's the first stage. The request for bidding went out beginning of this week or end of last week for the water plant, and that should be done within a year's time. And the reservoirs are supposed to get started sometime this fall, so, yeah, you might get by with not paying 31% next year, but then the following year you might pay 60%. So it's gonna get you anyway. The people in the city are already paying for this water plant expansion. So, you know it's coming. That's up to you guys how you handle it. But if you forego the 31% next year, the following year you're gonna get 60%. So, I mean, it's gonna be paid for, and it's gonna be a big help for the whole area, everybody, because the water plant we got now at the city used to belong to the Yagans. It's over 100 years old. It's really taken care of really well, but there's no redundancy in it. There's only like a couple small places there's any redundancy, and so if something goes bad, we're out of water. And
that's
the other
everything.
thing is, all the water that gets pumped out of that station is the lowest point in the whole city. It costs over $1 million a year to pump that water. This one, there's gonna be a lot of gravity flow to reduce the cost there. But you pay Peter now or you pay Peter and Paul later, it doesn't make any difference, it's gonna happen.
You know, presentation of these water rate increases, I would think would include maybe some comparisons to adjacent areas, because when I look what I pay for water, or what I know other people pay for water, it's pretty damn cheap. And I'm not a proponent of increasing utility. I'm pretty sensitive to, we had a couple standing out here at this meeting that night, we were outside out here, older couple, that voiced their concerns about water rates going up, you know, well, you can't ignore that. But on the other hand, you look at these water rates and you go, good God, it's cheap.
It is the cheapest.
It is cheap.
utility.
Yeah.
And you know, so we're looking at 30%, you know, like my water bill is $25 a month. In the summer, when I'm using my sprinklers, it goes up to 75, so, you know, it's still pretty cheap.
All right.
I'd rather take it in bits and pieces than get hammered really hard.
Yeah, I
I
just
know
think we're gonna
they-
do our diligence with that rate study just to get it
I mean,
done
I don't wanna
once
be
and-
I don't wanna be the one that says, yeah, I approve, I think increasing the water rates are okay. No, I don't, but it's a fact of life, I think it's just what's gotta happen.
And
I think we'll be able to tell the public that we did the rate study and this is how we came out. We've done our diligence, you know what I mean? I think that would be very important. Let's move on to the next one. It's the comprehensive review of all rates and fees capital improvement plan. That will be done by Interstate
And
Engineering.
that's what we were talking about earlier,
So we're good?
you will get into that probably next meeting, and we can
Okay.
push that, and then I can have all that, they should
So I need
have,
to make a motion to push it.
because of the switch with the Reftellus and what. and
Okay.
it's- Yeah,
Oh, I
so
see what you're saying.
it'll be separate.
So basically what we're doing is tabling it, is that?
Yeah, we'll table it until next month, I think, and
Okay.
then that way we can have something for y'all to look at from that and review.
Okay.
Comment.
Is there public comment on that part?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, rate increases, there's no set date for it. Right, well, you can do it in November, you can do it December, whatever it works out, it's not like the city
Right.
where it has to be done by the 1st of July.
Right. and typically
Except that we
would
have to
always-
pay starting July 1.
Pardon?
Except that we have to start paying July 1.
You have to start paying the city, yeah, but that's 0.7%. When you look at the cost per water, that's really,
Yeah, this first one's
it's
minimal.
not even negligible. So, but what I'm saying is, there's no set time for the Heights Water to charge that amount.
No,
So you can hold off till you do your rate study to notify the people on that, because it's unlike the city, ours has to be in by the 1st.
But we have to pay the city starting July 1. That's why we need to start collecting that 7/10, because this is our highest water usage. And how do we go back and figure Laura used X number of gallons? How do we fairly charge people then if we go months without paying? Because then you've got to recalculate the whole thing.
So you're gonna do 7/10 now, and then if you do your rate study and it says you gotta jump it up 5% to start accommodating for the 31%, then you're gonna have another rate increase the same year?
No,
No, we're not gonna do
we're
that.
not.
normally we don't, yeah, like I say, we would, we'd get the study, we would look at the rates the city's
Yeah.
charging, and the board, if they decided, we would look at a 2-year increase and have that proposal and look at what we needed to charge. But yeah, we've never like just automatically passed because the city's passed it. We've always done a rate study on our rates or looked at our rates. And
Can't the letter we're sending out address that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
if
think
we
what
just,
we're doing-
we can just say that the city has projected a 31% increase for fiscal year 23. And, you know, we will have contracted with a company to evaluate the appropriate,
Yeah, I
to
think all that in
evaluate
there.
those fees and make sure those are.
When will we get that
in
back?
line.
Do you know? The study? Did you say?
I don't think.
I don't think it said
Well,
in here.
yeah, the timeline was.
I know we're a little
it wouldn't be
behind.
before the May 24th if we had had it right then there, but I would probably think we would have it by the August meeting if we get this off.
Okay, so that's not so
That's
terrible.
not too bad.
Okay,
easily.
all right.
And it may even be sooner than that.
So do I have to do
60-day
anything
timeline,
with
it's
the, moving that to July as far as?
Well, he said maybe,
August.
but, oh, okay,
Yeah,
but,
it's-
Oh,
but
no,
tabling,
the interstate engineering.
We'll see what
one.
we get, yeah.
yeah.
table, let's just say table,
Let's table that.
because we
until
don't really
July.
know. Well, we don't even know.
Okay, or we'll just
Is that
table it.
rate study?
No, that's
That's
the,
the
Rates and fees.
comprehensive.
that's the one by
review with
Interstate Engineering.
Oh, yeah,
Engineering.
We passed it, I'm sorry.
What are you tabling?
The CIP, basically the CIP planning by Interstate Engineering.
What about the Heights water rate study?
That'll be included with the capital improvement plan from Interstate Engineering.
You're gonna do
separate
all
that
together.
rate study now?
That-
To just increase 0.7%, cause that's what water goes up, doesn't run this district. You've got insurance, you've got all kinds of things. Where is your operating budget gonna be next year? Your rate study doesn't just look at the cost water billings gives you, but what it costs to run the district is part of your rate study. And you've got stuff in here looking for another lawyer. Lawyers is
No, well-
expensive, you paid some lawyer bills. You've got upcoming bills, you're making committees down here. How much more capital are you gonna need to run this district? 7% of the amount of water this district buys, the district buys a little over $2 million in a
0.7%.
year.
0.7%.
7 million?
0.7%, right?
0.7%, you're right. But that accounts for money. How much money is additional operation of this district gonna cost? You need a rate study at some point. You
Yeah, no,
just
we're-
can't.
We are doing
we're doing
it.
it.
Tom, we're doing it.
We did that.
We are doing it.
Right.
We motion
All right.
to approve the rate study.
Let's move on to the board training.
Okay. Hey,
What is-
talked to Dan, and I thought I had more copies, but he gave just I think a bunch of dates, and I'll just forward the email to you guys, because I wanted to know if he had dates that weren't available, if he was gonna be on vacation or something like that. So I think I'll just forward it out. He had some in June, some in July, whatever. 2 hours, he supplies all the training material, stuff like that, and you guys can, figure out how you wanna do it, if you wanna do it
What does it consist of? Like how much time?
it's about 2 hours. He just goes over the laws and of the county water and sewer districts and any questions you guys have as far as.
I've also talked to him. It's really, typically it's at least 4. We brought him in when League of Women brought him in for, I think, about 8 hours, looking at the city charter form of government versus not a city charter. But I think what's really important, he knows more of the laws. I mean, he knows the laws about open meetings and that sort of stuff. But he's done workshops in cooperation with the Midwest Technical Assistance Program, who specifically is funded by DEQ and specifically looks at things that are specific to water districts. Because he's not actually that knowledgeable about water districts. He's done cooperative ones. And there is a person in town, Josh, and I don't remember his name, who could work with him. So I think it's important to have Josh and Dan work together.
For dates.
And also for the planning, who does what. What he said when he talked to me was you could do what they've done is like a 3 to 5 and 6 to 8, or during the weekday, or you could do noon to 4 or 1 to 5, or you could do a weekend. So what I thought is maybe tonight, if we could get a preference for time. Do people want to meet weekdays or weekends? Do they want to meet afternoons or midday?
Is it a 1 4-hour session? Is that we're doing just a 1-day thing?
That's
Yeah,
everybody
it-
knows.
it
that's a
depends on how many
standard.
questions, yeah, the
Yeah.
length of it is.
But we're trying to get it done in 1 day.
Yeah.
is what I'm
Yes.
asking. Okay.
And then get from everybody blackout dates, because I'm sure we all have vacation plans. So we need to, and we don't want to sit here at the meeting and say, well, I can't come on. But if we get that and we get what the preferences are for time, then we can look at blackout dates and see if we can get some match.
Yeah,
Because Josh will be free, because he's funded by DEQ. Dan is $500 plus travel, plus per diem, plus if you do late in the evening, probably hotel.
I'd prefer afternoons.
Okay.
I prefer evenings if I could.
Evenings or afternoons.
Yeah, something
Afternoon.
later after the
I'm the
day's
same.
gone.
We'll just want to put 3 or 4 days out there, I think, for us to kind of.
So if we
Follow down.
look, so for afternoons, like 3 to 5 and 6 to 8, or do you want to do 3 to 7, 3 to 7:30, and bring in, a snack, bring in some snacks from Costco?
Yeah,
and-
just get it over with, all
Yeah, I
at one
think 3
time.
to 7 or something is fine.
Okay,
If that works for everybody.
okay. We probably should do 3 to 7:30, so we've got a little
Okay.
eating
That's
time.
fine.
But
That's fine.
and if we break up early, that's probably better.
Oh,
But
for sure.
okay, so I'll email everybody and ask for blackout dates, and then match them against what Peyton got.
So do we
I want to
need,
see his available dates, and then
Right.
we'll start from there.
yeah, I'll send you a regular copy
Yes.
and take it with you either way.
so do we need to have a motion since it's gonna be an expense for $500?
Yeah.
Well, either that, or if you even wanna look at, if you send me the other guy's name, if you want me to talk to him and see what all he does.
Well, I think it just needs to be worked out with Dan, because Dan was the one that told me about it.
Okay,
And if we just talk to Dan and say, you and Josh work it out.
okay.
Um,
So if you guys get the dates together that work, then I'll get in touch with him and have him get in touch with Josh.
Okay.
but I need that. But yeah, we need a motion.
I would like to move that we approve the expense for board training with Dan Clark
For $500.
500.
for $500.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
It is just,
5 hour plus.
we
plus.
did need to, I was gonna say,
Five
we need to
per-
modify it, plus
Five plus
expenses.
plus.
plus expenses.
Yeah. Rock and roll.
And you guys voted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. All in favor.
Well, I think we all need to look at it, just another comment, I think we all need to look at it
These ones.
as
I
an
just had to give me
ASAP
some
deal.
Perfect.
Yeah,
recent-
I agree.
I think we need to do it as quickly as we can.
Well, I
Yeah.
The
think
smarter
it'd
we
be-
can get,
we'll
the
have
faster,
Yeah.
the better off.
I think it'd be better for him to reach out to see what his dates are, because we could go, we have all ours, and he's like, oh, no, I'm out of town. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, if we start with his, but
Yeah.
then, so if Laura says, I can't come on such and such a date, and that's one of his options, that's off for us.
Okay.
I mean, because,
We'll figure it out.
yeah, I think we can do it, it's just
Okay.
particularly easier when we're not doing weekends.
Yeah, the next one is the working copy of bylaws from Attorney Susan Swinley. So I know we don't really wanna dig real far into this, we wanna talk about it and come back into July.
Yeah, I was just gonna hand these out. This is because you wanted what
These are
she
proposed.
had so far.
I think I gave them a copy.
They're on the
Oh, you did
table,
already?
yeah.
Dang it.
So why doesn't everybody just to review these,
But
right?
maybe they
Yeah.
Well, I think we're gonna set up a committee to
Yeah,
draft it
down
and,
here,
yeah,
so that we can put that in there.
yeah.
Anybody else want copy?
And what committee are you thinking, operations and
Operations,
regulatory?
yeah.
I didn't know you had.
Okay,
Fine.
So I have
so
a
do you
question,
need,
is
do you
this,
need to, go ahead.
excuse me, are these brand new bylaws, are they revised bylaws? Was there bylaws before?
The
Yes.
bylaws that they had before were not valid because they were before became the county water and sewer district. So they were the bench water
Okay.
users association that was,
So in a way, they're revised,
yes, it is a fault of this board having never, ever looked at updating it. And
Yeah, they're
it is
19,
what it is.
they're 1958,
Yep.
so
There we
there's,
go. Oh, really?
so there's violations of law
Yeah,
in it.
and it talks about, there's so many. So basically, and when you look through it, it basically just follows the laws in there, and you guys can tweak
Okay.
however, you know.
So all we gotta do is just say we're gonna go through the committee on that, there's nothing in the
Yep.
motion.
Right.
Okay, perfect, so
Okay, I
we're,
have a question,
Yep.
if I may. These are
Absolutely.
for you guys. How can you guys use what Susan Swimley did on that if we aren't gonna pay her? Or we're tabling paying her, right?
well, we're gonna pay
We're just asking the attorney for guidance.
That's why I think it needs to go to legal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, that doesn't really seem fair to use her work product and then say, oh, we might pay her.
But in
sometime.
fairness, she's worked with pretty much every water district that has bylaws listed, and so we could have copied
We're gonna have
those.
to pay her for that, I'm
Yeah.
sure, that is work
Okay.
done, so that is something
Yeah.
that will be paid for, you know.
Okay.
So we're done with unfinished business. New business. The petition for annexation of the Bitterroot Heights third filing.
Everything's all here.
What do we need to do?
You can vote to approve. We have
What's the check for?
$185,816.80.
What questions do we have as a board?
Well, one of the things, I think from a process standpoint, I mean, obviously we have no basis to accept or reject it, so we'll accept it.
Mhm.
But there's no reason why we don't scan that and get it out to the board ahead of time, as every other group does. I mean, both city and county do that. So, I mean, the document should come out with the agenda so that people, I mean, what would we base any decision on? We don't have any
You gotta pay
information.
for it, so.
So just,
It's just
For going-
traditionally, the way the board has wanted it is to have the one copy, the one check, if everything's in order. Does it benefit the district? Is it good for the district? Yes. And that's.
Can you remember back how long that process took from the time they started till now to where they're writing the check and they're ready to roll? Roughly, just wow.
I can't say on their end, but, cause they changed the plating of it all, just cause they're not sure about what, the bypass is gonna do. Then they had to have, when they did that, the modeling was over 20, well, it's 20 years old, so DEQ wouldn't accept it, so it had to be remodeled. They had that a while ago. We still haven't got a set of plans to review yet on this, so.
Have they been into it a year?
On this?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, just,
No.
so it's fairly recent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
so could I make a motion that we approve the Bitterroot Heights filing, but that moving forward, all the information for future filings be sent out in advance to the board, so that we have the full packet of information.
Yeah, and then we can just, everybody will know and understand what it is, kind
You
of
can
have a,
just do it by email, you don't have to
Right.
print it out.
Yeah, no, yeah, because there is like addresses and stuff.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's
we
fine to
for
just-
confidential use only, that type. I have one question on it before we go on.
Is there a
Dennis, what
second?
did you find anything on that? Have you seen anything in zoning with the city with this?
Well, it went through city county planning and, I believe was passed on to the governing bodies, for their action. And, as far as I know, from our perspective as city county planning, we approved it. We approved the filing. And so, that's as much as I can tell you. I would assume that is that city? I think it is, isn't it? Cause there's city water in there. I'm trying to remember, it's city,
City sewer,
is
yeah.
city,
City sewer.
Yeah.
or city sewer. So, I haven't heard officially whether that was approved at our next meeting. They canceled our meeting for last night, so we didn't hear anything on it, so it'll be in the next meeting probably where we'll hear that if it was approved or not, but governing bodies, whoever the governing body is, they have to vote on it and put the final touch on it.
So is there a second?
for a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor for the approval and the emailing out beforehand?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. All right, so on the agenda is the election of board officer positions to take office July 14th. Laura?
Dennis led the committee for that.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I can present it real quick if that would be all right with you.
absolutely.
Mr. President, that we did have a three-person nominating committee that met. It was myself and Laura and Ming, wasn't it? That's it. Yeah, so I got it. Anyway, so the names that were presented, and I got a copy for you so that you'll see this email. And there was one last minute one that was entered on here, and I'll tell you about it in just a minute. But the nominations for president was myself, vice president Brandon, secretary Pam, and treasurer Laura. And the secretary position is the one that I didn't know about until last minute.
Okay.
But so that's what I got on it. If you want it here, I'll take my tag off of there so you don't need that. So those are the nominations that we would respectfully submit, and then we'd also, I believe as a reminder that we can take nominations from the floor, and probably should call for it a couple times just to make sure that if there was others that want to nominate, they could do so.
Would you repeat those again, please?
You mean, you got it?
Go ahead and just
That's
read it.
President Dennis Cook, Vice President Brandon Hurst, Secretary Pam Ellis, Treasurer Laura Drager. So should we just go from the bottom up and just do nominations, or how would you?
Well, I think if the Roberts rules just say you call for, are there any additional nominations? You don't have to call for each position,
Okay.
but you have to ask for that twice.
Are
by
there-
Robert's
Okay,
rules.
yeah, no, any additional nominations for any position? Is there no additional nominations for any position? Then do we make a motion to, is there a motion to accept these nominations for the June 14th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
These are positions have been passed, and they'll be starting July 14th meeting.
And I'll just leave that with you if you
Okay.
want, just for the record, so you
Okay,
got
that's
it.
good.
I can always recopy it.
All right. And then the next is legal representation discussion. I don't know how we want to go about that as far as.
I'd like to bring that into an executive or a committee if that's possible.
Okay, that's where I was going to go with that.
Well, except Randy Nelson has resigned.
Oh,
has withdrawn?
Besides that, I'm talking
Okay,
about
yeah.
for further, yeah.
So you want to table this until we have a committee?
I think we should have a committee for that for the next meeting in
Is there,
July.
is there a committee?
No,
Isn't there one there? Did we have one?
I think the plan is, I think people are pretty nervous about wanting to get going sooner. Am I right? That we
Well, we can do the committee and then name what committee it is, and they can meet right away. Or do we want
No,
the
what we'd
board
like to do
it?
is set up an executive session to meet with the attorney and then to lay out the priorities, and then coming out of that to do a public, to do it minutes, which I guess would be connected, which would go out with our July, that say, here's the action that we took as a result of the executive meeting.
Where is the referrals for council coming from? Does somebody refer people that have any expertise in this?
I had suggested Eric Nord.
Okay,
I have been he was against me,
okay,
but he did a great job for Yellowstone Valley. He's familiar with some utility type stuff.
okay. Anybody else have suggestions or?
I was just gonna make a comment that, I think the executive session is good. I mean,
Yeah, that way we
because
can-
we can really speak our piece, so to speak, and not have, assumptions made that this is who our attorney's gonna be. We need to come in there very open-minded.
Absolutely.
And find somebody that's really gonna represent our best interests.
The heights,
And
yep.
yeah, because there's a lot of issues, and I've been making a list as we went here. There's quite a few things for them to cover.
Yep.
So we want to make sure we get somebody that is going to be very open-minded, and that's going to represent us and the ratepayers, for that matter, as best as we can do.
So do we have to advertise for this?
No.
I don't think so.
You have the option to do a request for qualifications and publish it in the Yellowstone County News, but professional services are different because you need, and I think that there's I thought the goal of the executive session was actually to get an attorney in, because to meet with us and lay out, because Eric is in a large firm that has a lot of skills. Jeff has been against him too, and had a similar experience, that he's a problem solver, which is what we need. We need somebody who's not confrontational, but who's willing to problem solve. I know him just because he was on the Education Foundation board when I was a board trustee, and I know him a little bit personally because his wife was in my book club. But I think he's an excellent choice. He can't represent us in the dispute with the city because there are so many firms in town that have represented the city, so there's a conflict of interest.
But he can help us find
But he can help
counsel.
us. He's referred us to several people. But it's really difficult. I mean, that's a good strategy for the city, tie up all the legal.
Oh, yeah, so what we wanna do is have an executive session, bring in Eric and talk to him.
Bring in Eric
and
to
make
get
a-
us started on
make
the
a motion
non,
to
the
hire, if
non-things,
that's
yeah.
what- is that what we're saying?
But I would just add, come in there with an open mind that, you know, we don't wanna, here's where I'm coming from, is that, you know, and Eric may be the best possible choice for all I know, I don't know. But I would rather go in there with a very open mind that says, hey, let's talk about our issues here and who's gonna be able to best represent us with all the things that we've got on our list.
Mhm.
And try to get the one that's, because we could wind up in a position where we have one attorney that's very good at something and another one that's good at contracts.
Wow.
And, you know, we want somebody that really knows their stuff in a lot of areas. Because we ran into this at our association legal counsel, and what happens is a lot of times you contact them thinking that they're going to help you solve your problems. And then well, that's really not my specialty, you know. So then they want to right away put it off to another one. And so I don't know if you can avoid that or not, but I think it's certainly worth some discussion and make sure that we get a good pick. My concern is that in a city as small as Billings is, and I say small, in the fact that I think it's big city in name only, but it's still small.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact is that everybody knows everybody in the legal counsel areas and all that. So how are you going to find somebody that's really, truly neutral and can really represent you very well with everything else aside, you know, with all the talking that goes on? That's my concern.
Okay, so I see, I totally get that, but how do you wanna handle that meeting? Do you
Well,
want-
my suggestion would be that we come in and just first have a discussion on who that legal counsel is going to be. And then once we know who that legal counsel is going to be, we can agree on it, hopefully, that this is who we want as legal counsel.
Do you wanna meet with them before, or just as reputation? I thought we'd meet with him probably.
I think, and he wouldn't be the sole representative. I mean, part of what you're talking about too is making sure you have a firm that has a broad bench.
Different avenues. Yeah.
Because he wouldn't necessarily handle all the issues because within the firm you have people that specialize. But
Would he come in without being hired to talk to us?
oh
before?
yeah,
Well, let's just.
So does that allow us to bring others too then?
yep,
Yeah, oh yeah.
yep.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, that's
So
good.
let's
Fair
do
enough.
that.
I think
Name-
that was my point is,
Okay,
somebody thrown me another name today, but I'd rather leave that to an executive session that we can
Okay.
just bring it forward. So we have a second opinion. Okay, just a
no, we can do
open-minded.
executive session over email, kinda just.
I would
Well,
rather
no.
meet in person.
No, I know,
Yeah.
to set up the meetings
Yeah.
and who's coming, can we communicate that way?
Well, we'd like to do it we'd have to do it 48 hours. You know, we've got to notice it publicly that we're having an executive session to discuss legal issues, legal questions. I mean, that's essentially what it amounts to. And we may be meeting with specific attorneys. I mean, I think we should have that firm come in
Okay.
with an engagement letter, talk about it. If people have other people they want to come in, and then at the end, if we make a decision we want to hire this firm, then we've got to come out and take that vote publicly, and then we have to record that.
Okay.
If we say we're not sure, then you don't take any action, so then you don't have any minutes. You do have to have minutes, but you don't have. But the minutes aren't public.
Okay.
If that makes sense, you have to have minutes of executive session, but the only thing that's public are your actions
Actions.
that result
Yep,
from
that's
that.
correct.
that
That's
So yeah,
meeting.
we'll be in communication about when all this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Sometime between now and July
Yeah,
14th.
ASAP.
Okay,
Okay, that's good.
very good.
All right, audit firm discussion. You know what that is?
I do. One of the things that comes up multiple times when you have a large board turnover, or even regularly, is that it's good to hire a new auditing firm, just because every person who looks, just because there's fresh eyes. And so one of the things we'd like to do is hire a new firm that would maybe start by talking to McNee Summers.
Summers McNay.
Summers McNay. I know I can never keep them straight. And just say, are there any issues that you would like? I have some specific questions that I would like to see them address, but but my questions would have to be supported by the full board, in order for them to pursue that. Because I think there's some questions that, for instance, on profit sharing,
Yeah.
it's a puzzle to me how a government body does profit sharing, and I think we just have to ask: is that legal? And we have to have them review
Maybe
the.
just the wording of it or whatever, but, Summers McNee, what, did they just prepare something that we need to get off?
Yeah, because at this point in the game, when you have to have it turned in, you're not gonna be able to change in
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
this year.
We've contacted Darla Erickson at the Department of, who's head of the audit, and there's no problem changing. And there's no, and
Have we
there's,
already paid for
No,
what they've prepared?
No, they've just,
May I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
We just have to have the bills to them in June to review, so I don't know if that's.
there's, well, in order to be able to ask questions, we need to have somebody who's on the state list of forensic auditors.
Right.
Even though, and I did talk to Anderson,
Zermulin,
yeah, and they're really willing to work with us. They'll prepare a proposal, and then we can decide. But I think it's really important not to do with the same firm, just because I think it's time to,
I get what you're saying.
yeah.
But I'm just saying there's a timeline that we have to have the monthly bills to them to review.
Right,
In
but
June.
but the actual audit I think isn't due till December by state law,
Right.
and apparently people are often late, though we've not been late. So we're fine. We're fine. This is actually the time of year to look at it.
Okay, so we aren't gonna send the bills to Summerson, okay?
Well,
the
we
board has-
need
the board
to
needs
we need to have a
speak about it.
motion.
yeah, we need to talk about this.
Does everybody understand what's going on with the audit? Do you guys all fully understand on?
Yeah, I did read through it. I think that the latest one, you gave me copies of, I think, and there was a summary page, and I went through all that. But I think that definitely this audit thing should be a form of discussion amongst ourselves and probably executive session or something to figure out what we want to do. That'd be my
And we could bring in the gal who's in Billings is, oh shoot, I don't remember her name, but she had somebody else call from the Missoula office, but they'll prepare that, and we probably should make that as part of the executive session that we plan
Okay,
to
let's
deal
do
with
that.
both legal.
We'll do that.
Let's just do
Good
that.
idea.
All right, we'll do executive session on that, and they'll bring us, obviously the costs and all that once
Right.
we ask them to, and then we'll decide. So let's move on from that. Open director position to fill Wynn's term. I believe we might have some applications too. Okay, do we want to do that now, or we have a committee? It looks like we're going to do that in a committee,
yep,
and then bring them to the board.
Yep.
Is that correct? And the committee's going to decide. We'll decide on how we're going to bring to the board. If we want to interview, we can do our
Right.
interviews, and then suggest who we want to put in that spot.
Right,
Sound good?
yep.
All right. Next
Is there a
committee.
date on that one, then, when you're gonna fill that?
Well, as soon as
And-
possible.
yeah.
Yeah, as we're the committee,
Okay.
we'll get together and we'll get those resumes
Okay,
and we'll go over them.
And can I suggest we should have a date specific, like if you want to be considered, you need to have your application in by what, because I know there's a lot of people in, but we never really told people by this date. So have your application in so that we can review them.
How have we communicated, just putting it on the website?
Yeah.
It
Right.
was on the website, and we had a date specific when we were looking at the May 19th meeting.
So we're reopening it then, is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just saying there's no reason why it's not open, because we're not going to fill it till July.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll see what we have, us as the committee, and then we'll
Yeah.
chat with you guys on what we want to do. All right, formation of committees in the following, community press. I think the face for the press and for the board should be our president. Going forward should be Dennis Cook. I think that's the committee. Then it goes down the line. I don't think anybody else personally should be speaking to the press except our president.
I'll tell you, the press finds that a freedom of information violation. I mean, the board chair tried to do that on.
But that's our choice, right, to speak or not to speak.
Oh, yeah, you have the
So
choice not to
that's
speak.
what I'm just putting
but-
it out there to show unity. Yeah, I can't say don't speak, obviously, but
Right.
what are your guys' thoughts on that? I'm not trying to muzzle anybody. That's the thing. It's just I want us to be a
Well,
unified board here.
my comment on that would be just this: is that it's not unusual for have the president speak, you know, because I've been through a lot of those associations like that, and usually the president is the voice, you know, and
Right.
it just seems to work better that way because of the chain of command, if you
Yep,
will.
100%.
So anyway,
The
So it's my
president
comment.
is the one who has the authority to speak officially on behalf of the board, but I'll tell you that the press will, but you
Well, I
can't,
get
you
that.
can't say they're not allowed to speak to other people.
No,
No, we're not
But,
saying
but
that.
the
Nobody ever said
president,
that.
the president is always
Nobody
the
ever
official.
said that. We just like, if you're gonna speak, please talk to Dennis before you do. Because like I said, I want us to be a unified group.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, cool. Finance and investment, we need a committee on that. We do have, it looks like an investment that was due the second. The rates are kind of terrible at the moment, and we have our resolution here with Stifel, our investment firm, and we can go down there and meet them. I did that with Duke. I mean, I would like to continue. I've been on the investment. I would like to continue. I don't know if anybody else would like to be on that.
As the treasurer, I'd like to be on the financial and
Yep.
investment.
Okay, so
And,
Laura,
and
Brandon,
I'd like to be on it too.
and Pam. Are we good with those three? Do we need to make a motion?
So move.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
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 All right. All right, cool. Insurance. What, is
There's
that just
the
by
list
itself?
For the committee,
For the committee.
yeah.
Is finance, investment, insurance all one, or is that insurance?
That's what I can't tell here.
I think we could probably put those together as one.
I believe so too.
I do too.
Okay,
Okay,
so we'll put those, so we have nothing new there.
okay.
So insurance is with what now?
Finance,
Finance
Finance and
and
investment.
All right, okay.
And then now we have operations and regulatory. And Laura, do you want to kind of speak what you thought that committee would do?
Well, I just thought that they would interface with the staff on the certifications, making sure that we're up to speed. I know that Peyton has done a lot of that American Water Infrastructure Association, all that stuff.
Yeah, and we, like you said, we can do it like a quarterly report.
Right.
Same with safety, like Ken McCaffrey, our service.
I'll do that. I wanna get on that.
Jeff?
The safety or the operations, Jeff?
Well, is it all,
Can
can it all be
I
the
was gonna
same?
wonder if we, can we
Yeah, it
just,
can all be under one.
can we
because-
just do one with all that?
Okay.
I
See,
would
that's
prefer,
what I'm looking at.
I would prefer to have safety separate.
What does the board think?
Why?
Why?
Just curious.
Operations and
I-
safety kind of go hand in hand? Or what's your thought? Explain yourself.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll listen.
yeah, why do you think
Having worked in corporate America, safety is a huge issue, and I just think it would be really good for the board to have a safety committee as such. Safety and operations would be fine.
Okay, I think you
See, I'd mix all those together myself.
start with safety so
safety
that
part
it
of
hits them
operations.
first. Safety,
Safety
Blah,
and
blah, blah.
operations, yeah.
What do you think? You're the one that has to,
Well,
you're in the
like
middle
I
of that.
say, our safety compliance, we have one of our servicemen that complies with everything. We have OSHA's been here, actually, they just came yesterday, to look at the pump stations this time, because they didn't do it last time, and make sure all our stuff and our safety meetings and our trainings and all that are aligned.
But would you consider it safety part of the operations?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Cause that extends out when you're working out in the field too, safety. See something not in compliance, everybody's responsible for safety, so,
So the committee so far is Jeff, Peyton. So Laura, are you gonna be on that or?
I can be on that.
yeah, me,
Okay,
Dennis,
me.
do you want to be on that committee?
Which one was that again?
The last one, the operations and safety.
I could be,
The
sure.
last
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody gets on a committee with
Clay
Jeff
will be on that.
and Clay. Yeah, not
Not
Peyton.
me.
Oh, okay.
It's
I mean,
Clay,
I can-
Clay McCaffrey.
Well, actually, I suppose I can, because for the regulatory and stuff.
Yeah, I
like
think the
that.
operational part.
Yeah.
So
So, and I thought we were gonna have a committee for governance so that we could look at, that would do the bylaws? Is that,
Let's set up a special committee just for the bylaws.
okay?
okay. So do we want to make a motion on that safety operations committee?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're solid. And then we have a governance. Who would like to be on that? The bylaws.
I would.
I would,
Laura, Pam, anyone else? I'll be on there.
It's
Thank you,
beyond, it's
Brandon.
beyond my education.
I'll get educated, I guess. Okay, make a motion for those three.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Looks like that's it. I guess we'll let one last public comment. Do anybody?
I was gonna say,
One more public?
we've got to do public comment as
Yeah.
we went along, but
We're cruising. Any other public comments? No?
Oh, yes. I sent an email about the bank stuff. I don't know what they're gonna do about that.
All right.
Oh, what about the bank stuff?
I sent an email
Yeah, you did.
about just, I didn't know what you wanted to do about the signature cards.
So-
Commissioner stated, or if you're gonna do something different.
Will that be
Oh,
part
who's
of
on
the
the signature?
operations?
Who's on?
Well, that's
That's
financial investment.
financial
Okay.
So
investment.
we'll talk about that, Ming.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Perfect.
Any other things before we adjourn? All right, we're off to a good start here.
Yeah, good meeting.
All right. Court is adjourned.
Thank you.
Hey Dennis, did you take notes about for the lawyer, what you guys want to talk about with the lawyer? The issues?
I've got notes on
I
that.
got, yeah, I got that too, right here. I got my
Okay. I thought
notes,
you
so
did.
yeah, I'll share them with you.
Okay, thank you.
And I've got the notes
So-
from people's goals too.
Yeah, I did make.
Can I join the operations committee?
Why not? Well, the only
Just tell her,
problem
put
is
it,
then we have
can we just
four.
put that in
Yeah.
minutes?
Yeah.
Is that a problem if we have more than three?
Brandon,
I think we
No,
shouldn't worry about it, because I,
Go
look
fine.
forward to
What's
working with you.
I don't think we
Yeah,
should
man,
ever
this will
worry
go
about
just
it.
fine.
All you have to do is
Yeah.
notice the meeting and, but you specifically do not want to restrict, it's no big deal, you just, you just put
So
it
how
on
long have
notice
you
on the
been with
Facebook,
the
on your
network?
website,
15
that there's a
years.
meeting of, I mean, that's
when they were
what, that's
on
what the
Lake
city
Alamo?
does,
That's
that's
where
what
it
the
started.
school board
And then
does.
you guys have moved where to now?
Across the street from.
I mean, it's just no big
Field
deal, you just have to
Field
plan your meetings 48 hours in advance.
In the Millennium Circle.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we've been there.
out on the west end there, out King.
Yep.
Thanks.
Hey Susie, we're gonna fill this out.
Oh, the,
Yeah, I'll let you go off.